Seems like it. It's
Gotcha.
It's
Fantastic.
it's odd
That
because
is
it's all. I mean, their side of
phenomenal.
it was like they were.
You notice our
completely
poles are
baffled that
fixed.
I know, I went back and looked.
I sent emails.
They're in general.
Yeah.
So it was pretty cool.
And they did a great job fixing them too.
The bigger thing is getting everything out of mothballs. It's been shut down for a year and a half, 2 years.
Are you gonna go to that thing for Jim
Oh, yeah.
next
Oh
week?
yeah.
But you don't
I'm
look
beat.
at
Wait, somebody sent me
Yeah.
something.
Have to
I'm
process.
Jim
just happy
probably
we got
did.
everything
I'm sure
turned down.
it says you're invited and they're having for,
No.
at
I thought I just
Amy
saw him
and
walk in.
and Eric's next week. I
I got a
don't know.
phone call. There's a voicemail. Okay.
Yes,
I
ma'am.
have to remember. Oh, I'm so scatterbrained.
Well, but I don't think you would have it any other way, honestly, than doing a million things.
I need to. I need to chill. I have not been on vacation. I have not gotten out of here. Like the last real vacation was back in 2020, right before the lockdown. We took off to Paris.
I thought you guys.
Oh wait, we did.
Yeah.
We did Key West.
Hello.
So
Well, right next door between them, they just broke ground on one between them.
Changing it up.
Yes, yes.
Oh, it's,
Hey, Cable.
and Jen Torres.
Yeah, two neat houses.
And then the one in between them would be
Robin.
more of like, I guess,
We
New
went back
Orleans
again.
style house.
what was that?
We went back again.
You went back again.
And he's like,
No,
"Ed?" I said, "Yes, we
I
can't
was very
stop."
clear about that to my dad when he brought it. I was like, you know they're gonna kill your view eventually.
How are you doing?
You're good, sir. How you doing?
Good. How was
I
your
know what I
event?
wanted to ask you.
It was.
Have you ever, have you ever
Nowhere
been
near what we wanted it to
interested
be.
in
However,
NFTs?
it
You know what
was.
they are? I just
Everything
got turned
else has
on
been
to
shut
it
down since 2020 pretty much.
I didn't get home
Basically
until like
cryptocurrency, but it's
6:30, and I
art.
didn't know if I couldn't come after
And
6.
because
You
I
could've.
haven't
Oh, yeah, that's
been
We're gonna have more.
studio, I was
Don't worry.
filming NFTs, and I
This week
haven't
was just a good
posted
Sounds
excuse
like
to get
yet.
things.
doors at 5:30,
Yeah. Quick jump.
so I wasn't quite sure
You
what the
create
protocol
digital
was.
art and you can create it from original art. But
Everybody
they
good?
live in a digital world.
We're live, we're on?
Yes. Just
Okay.
cryptocurrency.
Sounds good.
They invest in
To
them
get out of here.
and then they buy them.
I guess we'll call the meeting to order.
Sell them.
Yeah, I guess I can do that. Mike, can you sit down?
But unless you have a huge following. so
We're calling
you
the meeting to
probably would
order.
Do really well.
Calling
I
meeting
don't
to order.
have a huge,
Okay, so thank you all for coming out tonight.
I'll show you what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I'm your guest chair tonight, so taking a look at the agenda, we'll do our roll call first.
Okay. Marcia Carrington.
Here.
Sean Daly.
Here.
Robin Lloyd.
Here.
Chris Parthamore.
Here.
Adam Ramsdale.
Here.
Brian Stanley. Cable Steineman.
Here.
Jordan Sternberg.
Here.
Martha Weichel.
Here.
Blake Harris. Michelle Newell. And Aaron Blair.
Here.
Okay, now that that is complete, moving on to the minutes from the last two meetings. That would be December 14th of '21 and February 15th of this year. Questions, comments, alterations, additions?
Make a motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
Second? Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Approved as submitted. Current business, art box painting program. Aaron.
Thank you. I did not get to the edits that you suggested, although I have good notes on those. I apologize. Everybody's really excited for spring, and so we are absolutely completely busy with all commissions. I do have an update for you on First Energy. So the boxes that we had chosen, as a recap from last time, were almost all owned by First Energy. Some of them are high voltage. I met with our rep, I think that was the day of our last meeting, and he said he kind of passed that up the chain. So he has talked to his boss in First Energy, and they don't have a problem with it, and they are passing it through like the law department version of their structure right now. So we do have approvals from like the safety team, which is a good thing. Not approvals, but like no objections from the folks that are in charge of safety. It's just like the liability folks that are taking a look at it now. So I'll have an update. Hopefully next time, I'll just keep following up with him. We do have the option if y'all want to pivot to a different approach. Like one idea would be that we do traffic control boxes, which are out by our intersections, because we own those, and that would be a lot easier. If you want me to start to kind of come up with an alternate plan in case we get the shoreline boxes kind of fall through, we could take a look at that. So I kind of want to pose that to you today. Like, do you want to give me a different direction or just kind of wait on First Energy
I would
before we
wait it out.
decide?
I would wait it out.
Wait it out?
Yeah.
But I think we should have a Plan B in place, and in fact, I'm not 100% sure I like the Shoreline Drive locations, just because it is the focal point of our downtown right now. I don't think it needs additions of artwork or decoration, shall we? I think going into the neighborhoods and doing something, like you say, the traffic signal boxes might be it's certainly a good Plan B.
Yeah, at least if you can get the conversation going with the law department here, at least get it like queued up to see if they'll be willing to approve that and what it would take.
With First Energy or with?
For the secondary,
For the
the Plan
secondary?
B, yeah,
Okay.
for going.
So
through
like
the
some, just an
boxes.
internal conversation?
Yeah, that would, I mean, at least that would get you queued up if the First Energy didn't work out.
Save time.
Yeah.
Yeah. And who knows, down the road, you might want to, that becomes a Plan A, you know, and you want to do those in addition to what you already have.
Yeah.
You already have the approval for it.
Okay, so I guess,
Agree with that too. At least have the Plan B kind of rolling, just in case.
Okay. Yes, Chris, Adam?
I mean, it seems reasonable. I mean, I don't know if the size dimensions are significantly different. Could you do more? You might go through the same kind of location looking process. I think we haven't kind of wrapped our mind around that quite as much, but I mean, there's no reason not to at least have it as an alternate plan. And if it doesn't seem aesthetic, then, you know, it's something we can't abandon either.
Okay.
Thanks for keeping the ball rolling.
Yeah, sorry, no big news to report on that.
okay, nothing further on that, Aaron? Moving on to old business.
I do have one item for old business with your permission to add comments on. So the hanging sculpture program that's been kind of on the work plan for a couple years but stalled in Columbus because of COVID has made some noise that it's going to move forward. So I got contacted by Lang Trust, and she has heard from the artists and their team that they are going to be able to move the sculptures. They expect to be able to move them in April and install them in late April to have a season here in May through the fall. We don't know how many we can get. She asked how many we want, and Sarah Prout of Lane Trust said, we'll take them all. So I don't know how many other cities are trying to get them. Columbus had 24 installed, but they have 33 sculptures in the US. So that conversation is moving forward. So we had an internal meeting today with Public Works just to talk about logistics and had a draft conversation about where those might be located. And I think that there was, like, Greg had directed a conversation about that like a year ago, so there was already some kind of momentum there, but it was generally like a cluster in Washington Park, maybe one in City Hall, maybe one in the library entryway, which all these are super drafty, by the way. A cluster of Shoreline Park. And then we looked at a little bit further out, like Kilbourne Platte, like East West Park, Central Park, Huron Park, JC, Lyons. And then we have the idea, which we have to talk to Cedar Point, but see if we can get one over at Sports Force as a promo for the event to get people to come and find the rest of them around town. So that's the conversation so far. And if you all have any comments you want me to take back to that conversation, I'd be happy to.
Don't they hang in between two structures?
Yes, they're between 30 and 60 pounds. They hang in between two either structures or trees. Almost all the ones in Columbus were hanging from trees.
Okay.
So they kind of wrap a safe, a rubber safe for the tree, wrap around with a cable on the tree, and then hang in between the two and balance on a single cable.
Refresh my memory, since we haven't talked about this in a while. and we have some new members on the committee here. The cost of this is solely borne by Lang?
Solely borne by Lang Trust, so they just need city permit cooperation. We're gonna provide a bucket truck and the ladder that they need to install them. The team will need a couple nights place to stay around here at that time, so I'm doing a little research to see if I can get a discount anywhere for them to have, so they have a home, but.
Will that be up to the commission for placement?
That, Lake Trust has been leading that, and like I said, we talked about that internally, and I would happily bring them comments if you have. I don't know that they'll like want to do a call for feedback. I could ask if they'd be willing to let us, let me send you all a map for comments, so
Okay.
if you had adjustments. Those are the general locations we talked about, and then we have to go actually like site where there's actual trees, because they can't be, I think it has to be like 30 to 60 feet, it can't be more than 70 feet apart. And we were generally going to avoid buildings, even though it would be cool to have them over the street. There's just so many more safety considerations for that, and private building owners of putting a hole in the building, and it was just like, let's find trees for them to hang from.
There
Okay.
was one situation I was specifically thinking about related to that, and I think we were approached, I think it was George a couple of years ago, asked us to put a guitar from Mr. Gass from Musicians Alley. We did avoid Washington Park just due to like how much stuff there is already there. And I would probably want to aim to be consistent with our message, if that's
That's a good point.
something to
but
think about.
Again, have them submit a
Yeah,
map,
yeah.
and
Okay.
we'll offer some feedback.
Yeah, my understanding is the Lang Trust, like their original idea was to bring them to Washington Park. Like that
Okay.
was kind of the central part of there. But I actually have a memo on my desk from George from Musicians Alley, and I have a note to kind of talk to him
Okay.
about that project and see if we can make some forward movement on that as well. I was wondering if maybe he would see a vision of like a giant mural in his building in Peddler's Alley instead of the guitar, but if he's watching this, then I've just kind of shown my hand. But I was going to go talk to him and just
Okay.
see what that vision looks like.
Well, I think that's a positive update. Moving on to new business, vinyl mural program. Aaron again.
All right, this time I have pre-finished. Let's see if you watch. What up?
Let me know if you can turn them on.
We'll see. This time I'm going to ask if you can see it before I keep talking. No. What did we do on, we did it on this one last time, right?
Across the podium. And PC.
It's thinking. It says no signal.
Does that one have to say podium?
Yep, there it is.
There we go.
Podium, podium.
Podium, podium.
Podium, podium. I don't need that. Okay. So I asked for photos. So we're talking about the vinyl mural program again, that's in our 2022 work plan. We said we are hoping to do like 6 to 10, depending on the price and the size. Instead of doing a standard size, I think what we have documented, or what I remember you all telling me, is that you'd rather see what the art submissions look like and then decide size, or see what the locations look like. So in that January meeting, I gave you homework to send me photos, and over the like kind of 6 weeks, I got a bunch of photos, and then thank you for filling out the Google Forms. I put that in a survey last week. So I got 9 results from that, so great results from the survey, and then I went in and added them all up and ranked them from you all ranked them from low to high. I also answered the survey, full disclosure. And then these are the top 10 scoring draft locations. So basically by total score. So the top one was 202 West Market. The second one, 231 West Water. 129 Columbus. 207 East Water. 246 East Market, and these don't have to be the exact placement. I was just trying to give some sort of like focal point to direct the eye when you looked at these photos to rank them. So it doesn't have to be exactly right in this spot, and that is probably not the exact correct shape or size either. It was just kind of, just give us a beacon to look at. 401 West Shoreline, 121 Jackson, 220 East Water, and 305 East Market. Oh, and 104 Columbus. This is the only one that I'm personally concerned about because I also sit on Landmarks Commission because of the texture of the stone that makes up Daly's. This one is the only one that really jumps out to me from that perspective, but that's the top 10. I think just from like flipping through them, they're actually pretty well spread out. One of the things I was thinking about is if we have too many that are clustered, it might look awkward, but these are actually pretty well spread out, I think. So I was just gonna kind of show you those top 10. I also have all the other rankings. I also received a few other photos of other location suggestions since I sent the survey out. And I have those in here too if you want to talk about any other locations, or if you want me to just start talking to these 10, or if maybe we throw in 11. This is like the new Hography building scored just 1 point less than Daly's. If Daly's gets thrown out, then this could be an alternative. Then we go down to 49 points on Landmark. So we could include this one like the top 11 if we're concerned that Landmarks won't like the Daly's one. And just a reminder, so we'll need to do outreach to the building owners. I'd like to get them to say, yes, I'm interested in the conversation moving forward. And once we get a yes from the building owners, then we'll take the locations to Landmarks and see if they have any concerns about the locations we picked. Then then I feel like once we get those two boxes checked, then we can talk about, a call for artists and size and shape and how many and which ones would be, do we continue to follow this top 10 as our priorities or reprioritize in any way? So that's what I got.
It's quite a few filters. You may have a couple, may have to have a couple backups.
Oh, yeah. And like I said, I have all the other locations by,
Okay, by rank.
numerical
Yeah.
order that we voted on. So. And
I'd
then
like to
there's,
make a comment, and the same comment I've made about the sculptures that Lang has contributed to our community. You said on Friday, I think, that you said you expect these murals to be 10 by 15 feet or so.
that's the price point that we were looking at when we researched the project.
Because I think the problem I have with the Lang sculptures and with these, if they were anywhere close to that size, is just going to be a matter of being completely out of scale on a large building. Of the 10 that you showed, and I'm not sure if I wrote down the addresses correctly, I think the ones that have the strongest possibilities are, including this one on Shoreline, because it's again a smaller area, was the 129 Columbus, because you kind of get a glimpse of it on a big building, but it doesn't get overwhelmed by the big building. I like the old Sandusky glass building on the north side. I think that I wrote that down as, it's something on West Water. I'm not sure what the address is there, or you listed it as Jackson, I'm not sure. And then 220 East Water, which is the courtyard between the Fike building, or Fike contractors, and Mocha Route. Again, because they're not going to get overwhelmed by the size of an expanse of building where it's going to look like a postage stamp on a large canvas. And when I took pictures today, I know I was very late doing my homework, but I tried to find locations downtown here that it would not be overwhelmed by the size of the structure. Can you throw those up just for an
Yeah, I
example?
have them in here. I would say just one reaction to that, and I'd love to hear what others say, is that in Columbus, when you're walking through, that's the program like this that I'm familiar with, you kind of come upon them, and they tend to be at scale with the pedestrians. So it can be on a giant building, but you're not looking at the whole building. That's not the intention of the program. It's just like, it's like, we would hang an 8 by 10 piece, picture on a wall. It's it's a 10 by 10 picture on a wall, you know?
Perspective, it's perspective, it's what you're.
Yeah, like
you're doing
they're at
forced
the
perspective
pedestrian
here.
scale. They're
Yeah.
not meant to be viewed from a vehicle or from afar. I mean, like this one, I would totally agree with you on the scale. I think it would be a little bit strange to put a 10 by 10 on this giant building, but especially because you would tend to view that from across the parking lot. You don't have the opportunity to be walking on that sidewalk unless you live there.
It's not a high traffic area, right?
Yeah, like
For
pedestrians.
walking.
Certainly not a pedestrian area.
Right, yeah.
Unless you're a resident.
High walking pedestrian.
Yeah.
Traffic.
It's 25 foot.
Yeah.
Well, maybe then you avoid really high.
Yeah, the higher ones are more expensive too.
Yeah,
Right.
maybe you avoid that, because I know in Columbus, I always enjoyed the murals there, and they're not huge, really.
I just look at the feather Robin did on the building and it just makes me smile every
It
time I
does.
see it.
Yeah.
It really
Oh,
does.
me
What's
too.
the dimensions on that?
You
It-
know,
that's
it's just like a
25
little
foot.
piece of
That's
hat
25
piece
foot.
But that's
of
painted too, yeah.
Yeah.
That's,
Which I think is what the Marv Beyer building offered. It's the same kind of symmetry with that.
the Daly's location. If you want to go back to that one real quick.
That brick is a challenge. Oof.
No, that's not it, sorry.
It was up higher,
It's
wasn't
way
it?
up higher,
It was
yeah,
the next
in the
one.
top 10.
I think that we don't do a vinyl mural on dailies. I think what we do is maybe move forward. You see all that gray right there at the parking lot? The lower gray, it's not old brick, it's not
Here?
old, but yep. I think I would like to see personally if we actually had a mural artist come in and paint that. And they could actually paint all three of those panels. It's already painted brick. And make a large scale
be cool.
piece that's a permanent fixture, and you don't have to worry about damaging any kind of historic property. You wouldn't have to worry about that. So if you went with that and created that as an entire mural across the back half, then you wouldn't need a vinyl mural on.
Cover the unappealing.
Yeah,
parts.
yeah, and I think that's a good candidate.
Cover
It's a
the,
high traffic parking lot too,
yeah,
right?
Right.
cover the unappealing part of that structure right there, because everybody sees that. And literally there's like 3 sections to it. If we brought in like an actual mural artist and went all the way across that, that's what I think that
With the,
really
with
is.
the vinyl, I had a question, and you brought it up with the particular one with the Daly's building. The textural issues, I mean, is that a major factor when wrapping these things or placing
They'll
these?
go on about anything because they basically like shrink wrap them on. They heat seal them to the building.
when I was looking
As a
today, that
viewer,
worried me.
like when you're this far away, like if we were a pedestrian right now, you would think it's a painting until you're like almost up on it. Even from across the room, I'm sure we could see the brick pattern. So like once you get 10, 20 feet away from them, you can see a little bit of that topography, whatever they're applied to. It's pretty striking how not distracting it is. I've found in the ones that I've seen, but no, you've seen them.
Yeah, and I
You're
always
thinking more
thought they
from the
were
durability.
paintings.
Yeah, they
You
look
know?
like paintings. It's wild.
So until I learned that they weren't, so I didn't know. I thought they were painted on, and they looked good.
Yeah.
Cable, are you more concerned about just the actual adhesion or how it would affect the work?
Both the appearance and the,
Yeah,
adhesion.
I mean, I think that there probably is some limit, like she was saying that there's.
Do we have any
there's some
samples
level
of the
texture
ones
that's
from
probably
Columbus that
difficult.
we could throw?
I have on the work plan, I don't have it on me, but in the work plan, there was one on a brick building in Columbus. It was like birds. It was called Evolution or something. I can't remember. Yeah, this one jumps out at me as like, those blocks might cast some shadows. And I think that's an interesting perspective. Also for some context, I've heard, and I don't know if it's real or happening, but I've heard that the Hographies have an interest in creating a mural on the Marketplace building, which would be just a few steps away from this. So there might be some other mural interests within view of this location. So if we don't have something here, other public art might be happening along that location as well.
I support Robin's idea of.
I'd really like to see that.
Yeah.
So, and just bringing something more permanent there to maybe look forward to, like down the road. because that is so viewed, that, I mean, everybody's driving down Water Street now.
Was that
and-
back entrance of the marketplace would be really prominent when you
Yeah.
go to the parking lot?
Yeah,
Yeah, I think they were trying to get something so you could see it from Columbus Ave too, through the little Snickle Way. What do people call that locally, by the way? In London, in Britain, they call them Snickle Ways.
Yeah, this is one.
Anybody have a name for that? The alley between Mr. Smith's and the parking lot?
I just call
Just
it
the
the
alley.
alley.
Alley. In England, and I just
You
love
could
that
start a
word.
trend.
Yeah,
Oh, the alley.
that's a big one,
Yeah, I was
obviously.
just.
I like the name.
When I think of murals, I think big, but.
Yeah.
You
I
just
know
pass it around.
some of
Pretty neat
the
one.
Oh, yeah.
images, like even, I know that they were even some that I submitted, you don't realize it until you saw that square that you put in. I know you said that the scale, but some of those I was like, oh, maybe that wouldn't be, so, you know.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think that like the lower, the better too, because I think you are right up on it.
Yep.
And it's not like you're looking, I know a couple of them were mine, and I was like, oh, I guess that doesn't look really good, because it just looked like this little tiny
Yeah.
square, like, in a big building.
I think your comment about them surprising you is a good point, and that's why I kind of like the ones that you just get a glimpse of, as opposed to just being straight on.
Is this location a concern for the size constraints?
There you go.
Should we
How-
move that down?
That one's kind
I
of
think it's
cool.
great, because I think
I
it
like the
reminds me of what
Yeah,
Robin
that's
did
what I was
across the
gonna say,
street.
kinda
Yeah, there you
reminds you of-
Yeah, that
good
one,
one.
I like
I
that.
like the high
Okay,
ones.
this one, I was gonna say, this one scored very high.
And the higher it
Almost looks like
is,
the brick, but
the
it's wood.
less damage it gets from people, like
Yes,
walking by. Because
yes.
last time I was in Short North, I was really checking out the murals that they had.
Mm-hmm.
And you can just see where people have picked at them and torn
Yeah.
at them.
That's the biggest problem they have
Because
with
if
them.
they can get them within reach, then they pick and tear, and that was my only concern. So the higher, the better
Okay.
for me.
So maybe we'll start to look, assuming we get approval for a building like this, say, a large-scale piece of art that doesn't have like a lot of fine detail would be a good contender for this location. Whereas if something has a fine detail and you're not gonna be able to see it from the street in this location, we wouldn't want to put it here,
Yeah,
so.
that seems like the piece is gonna drive the location a little bit, but at the same time, we're kind of talking about this scale based on just the budgetary aspects of how many pieces, but that doesn't, weren't constrained really at anything quite yet.
No,
I mean,
we
there could
were-
be 5 great pieces
Yep.
at a different scale or
Yep.
things that could change that.
We were deliberately vague in the work plan, so we had a lot of flexibility to make those decisions, so.
I mean, to a certain degree, I know you're I would say waiting to get more consensus on this, but having a call for artists earlier, what's the risk in seeing people's submissions?
One thing, so I don't have artists
Not gonna.
calling me. We don't have them in audience. So I would hate to get 20 submissions and tell 12 of them no, or 17 of them no, because we decided to only do 3. Unless, and then we're like, oh, you could do a utility box instead. You know what I mean? So that would be the balance that I would throw out. I don't know what your all's reaction to that is, but, yeah, I'd love to at least narrow down just one more step. We don't have to get to yes, we want these exact buildings and these placements and these size before we call for artists, but I think I'd like to look at it a little bit. I don't know. What do y'all think?
I
I
agree
think
with
you're
that.
right.
I have a
You're right.
question. After the approval comes, then would each artist choose the location that they want? Or would we say, we do it? Okay.
I think we do that.
Yes,
Out of
we do
those
that.
things,
No, we do
We
that.
say, okay, this artist can have this
Yeah.
location.
I think we do that because the building owner might also have opinions on what goes on their
What goes
building,
on it, okay.
I would think.
So we'd see what they're submitting, and then we choose where they are.
Yeah, I think we get that call and we do a full meeting subcommittee, however you want it, if you want to run it like the gallery, and we do just a handful of us sit down and look at them all and then think, oh, this one could go there, this one can go there. Then we're gonna have to, probably my homework from there would be to go shop it to the building owner and be like, here's what was submitted, here's what they think that this piece would be good for your building, are you good with that? Yeah, there's a lot of conversations to happen, I'm sure. So do y'all want me to pursue these? Okay, so we said no on dailies for sure. Do you want me to pursue the 9?
Yes, I'll make a motion for you to contact the 9, assuming they're separate building owners.
Second.
So moved. Any discussion about those 9 or Aaron reaching out to them? Hearing none, do we do this by roll call, or do you want to do it by just an aye?
All right, I'm fine either way. You're the acting chair.
All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Go ahead, Aaron.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other business? New, old, or
That's all I got.
newsy?
How'd your event go?
Interesting, learned about Fort Clinton's commission. It has 22 members. A lot of members, and they're more like a chamber of commerce than they are like a government entity like we are. They're a bit of a different schedule and basis, and they're trying to raise $500,000 for their art garage. So 5 of their members showed up, and Mr. Parthamore.
I was stuck here till 7:30. I apologize. I couldn't
Nah,
sneak over.
it's okay. It gave us, what it was about was getting the venue ready. I've been working nonstop for a week, getting it out of COVID lockdown, dusting stuff off, and rewiring things that sat and corroded over 2 years, so. But overall, it's a place cleaned up nicely, everything works, and we will be doing more stuff that I'll make sure everyone gets invited to.
Awesome. I'd love to see the
Y'all
inside of that
haven't been
place.
to Halo.
No,
Awesome little
yeah, I
place.
walked past it because I used to
Check it
live
out.
down on Hancock and Scott, and so I walked past it a ton, walking up in downtown.
We got some big stuff coming up here this summer, so.
Nice.
It's gonna be.
Look forward to that. Again, thank you, everyone, for giving us your time, and we're adjourned.
So we should talk sometime about in
Yeah, I want to know all about it. So,
It's a
but we're-
lot of
I'm still
information.
getting-
You guys get
still
seated?
getting-
Well, you let
We're
me,
gonna
I
do
let
the
you
wine.
know.
If
let
you
me
do
know, so.
Columbus murals
So insane.
in vinyl, you'll see more. And the other neat thing is that looks like what they're doing is, there's a lot of murals down there in downtown area. It looks like they might be pairing up artists with locations.
Have a good one.
And we were
There's
full of
actually
stage.
geotagged locations on Google for just their art page.
Are you going back there now?
Pretty neat little, like you can do a self-tour guide and see all the different
Oh,
pieces.
okay.
I haven't been to Carolina in a while, so I know there used to be some really neat ones there.
Oh, yeah.
Tear apart that map.
She's doing.
Short North,
Having
Short
somebody
North
talk
and,
to her.
uh,
Here at a time when I was down in Columbus, the Short North transformed like completely.
Yep.
Nice. It's crazy.
I just got
It's
to
amazing. Some of my favorite restaurants are down there.
Yeah.
New Albany even.
Yeah, you too, sir.
Honey said
To make
I think you
copies
should
of these for
put
everyone
your
of the
art
draft plan. I mean,
Probably would be
I
bad.
know.
Tired, you in a
Would that
hurry?
be?
I'm old enough where I can be tactile with it.
Yeah. No.
Yeah, I mean, I would take
Yeah,
that.
I'll make
I like, I always print my stuff out, because I hate.
It's okay, I handled it.
Even my calendar, I'm like the only one known to me that doesn't have a calendar.
It's okay.
I mean, like open calendar, write my name, write myself.
Like this says soon.
All right, I'm gonna just put in something really quick.
I know a lot of people aren't printing anymore, you know.
Right.
Yeah.
will be unharmed.
All right, these are like, oh, I don't want to interrupt
Just
you.
want to make sure I
Old
catch
water
it.
quick, it'll lock in the moisture.
These have been around for a really long time, so they sell for a lot more. But something like that,
Yeah.
yeah.
And the owners